Hey everybody, it's me, Lila Kitty, and welcome back to my channel, Snackity, where I try to bring you more milk and less. So today I'm doing a get ready with me, both like hair and makeup and maybe nails if I get to it, but also a get ready with me about 2 series that I'm about to start on my channel. So before we begin, I wanted to just show real briefly. So I have my hair up in all of these braided twists. I did it from dry last night, and so just brushed my hair and then put in this Frizzy's Secret Weapon touch-up cream, which is supposed to be like anti-frizz, but I used it just to kind of give my hair a little bit of a texture to hopefully help hold in some of the kink. I love the way it smells. So refreshing. Okay, so with that out of the way, just take your hair into like little chunks. There's still a pin in this one, that's okay. And then braid it down. This one's falling out a little bit, but I'm not gonna worry about that right now. And then just twist it around. Try to keep the end in check, and then just bobby pin it. Use as many pins as necessary to actually keep it down. And then I slept in this, and I put them all back up in this morning because last night when I did it, they were a little more like down into my face. So I put them back up a little bit to be able to do this video. So now that that's out of the way, first prep, the look that I'm going to be doing today, I'm actually going to just prime my face with a little, this is vitamin E. For my projects that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to, I guess I should just start at the beginning. You can tell this is like a story time. So about a year ago, on like the beginning of August, I think it was August 7th, I started keeping a journal about my challenging work situation. It's kind of a means of like self-therapy, which was actually an experiment that I participated in when I was doing my undergraduate. Any way that you can get the frustrating stuff off of your chest, even if it's just writing in a diary, is incredibly useful. Long story short. So anyway, so I started doing that. And about 6 weeks in of doing this, I had what can probably best be described as an epiphany. I don't know, like the light bulb went off. And I had an idea about what causes narcissistic personality disorder. So in a cognitive sense, right? And so I started doing research on it, and I got the DSM criteria from online because like I don't have the money for a DSM-5, and I doubt it's at the public library anyway, and I don't have access to an academic library, so I just went on and searched. So it turns out, though, that the criteria that I got apparently didn't actually end up making it into the DSM-5, but they're much more thorough than just the typical 9 criteria, must have 5 of these for a diagnosis, that I guess is still in there from what was in the DSM-4. So I started with this as my framework, and I developed my little hypothesis and was explaining how each of these diagnostic criteria could be explained in light of what I kind of was thinking is going on inside their head, right? So anyone who's ever used TikTok knows that it's incredibly, like, the earworms, it's incredibly invasive. And so all I can think of now is all of the memes about, like, if you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head. Okay, anyway, which is typically really grotesque, like, pet videos. It's just a warning. But anyway, I digress. Moving on. So what I'm using is, these are all MAC cream shimmers. So this is my old case here. And these are the shades that I got. For some reason, this pink stains like nuts, even through foundation. Like instantly you can dye yourself a nice shade of bubblegum. So if anybody wants to go as a bubblegum bubble for Halloween, just paint yourself with this. Okay, the orange doesn't stain, and I got these basically just for like a neon moment. And then the rest are just kind of sheer. They are shimmer, you can see that, kind of like skin tone shades and stuff, right? So that's what I'm going to be using to just do my face. So anyway, so I had started this journal. I started this journey with doing all of the research and writing out, like, based on these diagnostic criteria, and so basically, nerdy me was essentially writing a dissertation on my theory about what causes narcissistic personality disorder. So anyway, I was doing, like, I would explain how my hypothesis would lead to the behaviors in the diagnostic criteria, and then was providing case-in-point examples, which are anecdotal examples from my real life dealing with this challenging work environment. So what ended up happening is, where to start here? I think usually I know we're like all over the place. You're like, Kat, stay on track. Well, welcome to Kat's track. Okay, so this cream concealer, I allow it. I'll allow it, okay, in my full cream face. So anyway, so I realized as I was doing this that memories of roommates past, I shouldn't say roommate past, kept creeping into my mind. I started putting the stories from my time living with her into this as well. So I have two anecdotal case-in-point examples of behaviors that align with the diagnostic criteria that you can easily explain with my hypothesis. So, anyone who's a fan of a lot of the stuff that goes on YouTube will remember that around September of 2018 is when Shane Dawson released his series about Jake Paul. So, my interest in the manner in which it was handled from a professional perspective really piqued my interest. So I started looking like how other people were perceiving Katie Morton's participation in this series. And that's how I came across The Rewired Soul. And I liked the videos that he did for that time period in that. But then after it was all over, I kind of lost interest and I never went back looking at his channel. So as everyone is aware, his channel started being more and more about like YouTube drama and stuff going on and relating it to mental illness and other situations. And then around the same time as Dramageddon of this year with James Charles and Tati Westbrook, his whole channel ended up blowing up and he ended up being canceled by a lot of drama channels and there was all sorts of situations going on. And so I remember I watched the video where he was walking around in the desert and saying like how he was leaving the drama community and all that. And it really didn't, blip much on my radar. So meanwhile, back at the ranch, I've finished my dissertation and whatever, my book, and it ends up being like almost 300 pages long. And I created a website and I put it all up on there and it's not like readily available. And I'm not going to give the web address to it right now because technically it's not completely finished. And there's also the challenging workplace that inspired me to start writing the journal is also still a little close to home. And so I'm not going down that path. My interest in The Rewired Soul was piqued again when he posted the video about, is Jeffree Star going to turn Shane Dawson into a psychopath? Which I thought was incredibly interesting because a year ago I found him from basically why people were taking issue with someone doing basically kind of exactly that same thing, if that's making any kind of sense what I'm driving at here. So I went to his channel and I watched that video and I was kind of like, imagine titling a video like that and then talking about mentoring for 10 minutes. So I was officially hooked and I started looking into like the videos that were made about his own Dramageddon and all of that stuff. So like Prime Inc.'s video and some of the Drama Channel videos and all of that kind of stuff. And then was going back and watching some of his other videos. So at the time, and this was like 2-3 weeks ago, his video about James Charles versus T-Spill over the controversy of should you be reporting on your drama channel about something that happened that was immediately kind of like dismissed by the person who did it, et cetera, et cetera. And he was going into like moral philosophy and stuff about it. And I recognized immediately, having a background with a bachelor's degree in both psychology and philosophy, the inaccuracies were immediately and, dare I say, cringily, painfully obvious. And so I realized, I'm like, you know what I want to do is a series where I break down the content of the Rewired Souls videos and just basically present more accurate information of the things that he's talking about. So, for instance, just to give a quick example, in that particular video of James Charles versus T-Spill, he basically characterizes deontology as moral relativism in order to make his point. And the source that he uses for what deontology is not exactly what I think he thought the source was. So just a little bit of a sneak peek there. I'll do the video about that and go into more detail. But just to kind of give you an idea of what I'm driving at. What I want to do is every week between Sunday and Saturday, I'm going to take one of his videos and do basically this commentary. So where this inspiration actually comes from as well is when I was doing my undergraduate bachelor's in philosophy, I took a class that's called analytic philosophy. And in that class, our major assignment was the professor picked out a paper for each person in the class. So I think there was 16 of us in the class. So she picked 16 papers. And then out of those papers, each of us picked a paper. And then it was our job to read the paper, understand it, and be able to present it to, teach it to the class. And then each of us picked one of the papers that we wanted to do commentary on, which meant that the day after the paper was presented in class, that the person doing the commentary would basically present the rebuttals and arguments against the paper itself, and kind of also critique the other students' ability to present the paper to the class, like whether they thought they had gotten it right, things they thought they'd gotten wrong, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And so that's basically what I want to do with some of the videos on the Rewired Souls channel. And at the same time, I'm going to be making videos about my project. I'm going to do a video series where I basically present what's in the Grey Rock Burn book, but only the anecdotal examples from my college roommate from almost 10 years ago. That's how memorable these things are. And so I want to preface that project with this. So, and this will be when I start it too, it's in the introduction, but basically, I am not going to be saying anything about who this person is. You know what I mean? I want it to be, you would have had to have known us at the time to be able to understand who I'm talking about. And even given that, it's not possible to actually, because she wasn't the only roommate in that household, it's not even necessarily possible to know which of my roommates I'm even talking about. So you would have had to have been as intimate with the situation as I was to even know who I'm talking about. So, which basically means that the only other person on the face of the earth that should be able to know who she is her herself. And I'm not doing it to try to, that would be kind of a lie. So in a lot of problems with, and I'm not saying that she is a narcissist, but I think it's one of those, as the story develops, the stories in and of themselves are interesting enough to be presented as a YouTube storytime video. And as it goes on, it would be pretty obvious that there was something. Survivors of narcissistic abuse sharing their stories and talking about them with each other to try to come to a better understanding and to get some relief and release from some of the gaslighting actually changes the way you feel about yourself. And so talking through it and discussing it with other people who've had similar experiences and all of that stuff is very valuable. And in just another way of looking at it is telling your own stories and your own situations with people that you know in real life is a lot different from making clickbait videos about random YouTube celebrities. So I just wanted to put that out there, that even though one thing that's kind of weird about the whole thing is that I'm basically going to be making videos like the kinds of videos that the Rewired Soul has been putting out, there's a marked difference. So that being said,